Welcome to the Audiovisual User Manual, where we will explain how the Ancar touch panel interface works. This is the main screen of the touch panel. The first field is the user profile. This is a selectable option, where the different work settings of the instruments will be saved for each of the profiles. The name of each profile is editable from the configuration screen. Along with the user profile timesler, we have the name of the clinic, the date, and the time. This information will always be available at the top of the screen. Just below, we have the seat position memories. From 0 to 3 we can memorize any seat position, keeping the desired memory button pressed. Once we confirm the pop-up message, the current seat position will be memorized. Once registered, we can always return to the memorized positions with a simple press of the button. The last memory corresponds to the return to the spittoon. This will put the chair back in the upwards position in a way it facilitates the patient the access to the spittoon. By pressing the button again, the patient will automatically return to the previous working position. At the bottom of the reports we find the manual movements of the chair. Finally, at the bottom of the screen we will find the following functions: glass filling, water in spittoon, control of the operating lamp, auxiliary button. With this function, you can activate any electrical device such as a doorbell, an intercom or ambient light control, among others. Ask your technician for more information to learn about the different possibilities he can offer you. To complete the options available on the main screen of the touch panel, we have the access icon to the configuration menu. In the configuration menu, the first section available is the customization one. In this section we can modify the data in the upper part of the touch panel. Name of the dental practice, date, time, usernames, and the language in which we want to see the interface of our touch panel. Here we can also select which profiles we want to activate. You can also see the team statistics. Those can be consulted in the configuration menu. Here you can see the following statistics: statistics of seat movements, instrument performance statistics, history of the most frequent error messages, and finally, the history of the most recent error messages. All the partial statistics data can be easily reset from the option available at the bottom of the screen. In the sections on error history and more frequent errors, we also have an icon to change the page if necessary. Returning to the configuration screen, you will see that there is also the option to activate the flush system. To do this, we must access the configuration menu, put the desired instruments in the flush system support in the spittoon, and finally press the button. It is worth mentioning that, by clicking on the time frame for 2 seconds, we will access the timer settings. This is a bit of a hidden option. Once the desired time has been established, it will appear at the top. Applying the same 2-second pressure, but this time in the upper right corner, we will activate the screen lock for safe cleaning of the screen. To deactivate the lock, just press and hold the padlock icon. Selecting or pitching up any instrument, the screen will automatically change to the settings screen for the selected instrument. As we can see on this screen, many functions of the main one are maintained. But now, those of the chair movements have been replaced by the instrument settings. In this first example, we have selected a scaler. For the scaler, we can select between 3 working modes: Perio, ENEO, and Scaler. In any of these modes we can work with, or without water, by pressing this icon. We can also make this selection directly from the pedal if we activate the button on the right. If we hold down the touch panel icon for 2 seconds, the different available options will appear. Using the sliders, we can regulate both the working power and the intensity of the light of the handpiece. Once the settings are configured, we can memorize them by continuing to press the instrument icon. These settings will only be memorized for the user profile that we have assigned at the top of the screen. Now we see the turbine adjustment screen. Here we can visualize the working power that we are applying with the proportional pedal. By activating this icon, the turbine will always work at maximum power, regardless of the position of the proportional pedal lever. Right next to it, we find the working mode selector. As with all instruments, from the touch panel or the pedal, with each press we will alternate between the different options available, which now are 4. Only rotation. With spray. With water. With chip blower. Pressing the selector for 2 seconds opens the drop-down with the 4 options that we have seen plus a 5th, namely self-blower. This function determines how long we want the instrument to continue expelling air after working. This function is very useful if we want to avoid the use of the syringe after working with the instrument. Now it's time for the micromotor with brush. In this screen we can customize the maximum revolution limit of the micromotor, using the slider, or by entering the value numerically. The Max button will make the micromotor turn at the maximum revolutions that we have set. The next option is the reversal of the rotation. We can activate it both from the touch panel and by pressing any of the pedal movements. It is also important to know that, for the revolutions shown on the screen to be equal to the real ones, we must take into account the factor of the contraangle we are working with. To do this, we can choose the type of contraangle that we are using in this drop-down menu. This list is customizable, but the configuration can only be done by an official technician, qualified by Ancar. Finally, we can save the established settings with the same procedure as the other instruments. Now let's move on to induction micromotors. More specifically, the MCX model. In this screen we can make the same adjustments that we have seen with the brush micromotor, with the difference that, now, each user profile will be able to memorize up to 10 different configurations. To do this, we will use the same procedure as with the other instruments. Once memorized, we can easily identify the memory by editing its name with a long press of the button. Opening the drop-down menu, we can see all the available memories. As you see, each user profile has its own 10 configurable memories. It is worth mentioning that, if we have 2 induction micromotors on the same unit, they will share the configuration memories, just like the model shown below, the MX2. There is a big difference between the MX2 and other micromotors, since we have the option of setting a torque limit. We can do that using this slider. The way in which the unit acts when reaching the established maximum torque depends on the way we are working. We have 2 options, operational and ENEO. And we can toggle them by pressing this button. As long as the operating mode is selected, and when the micromotor reaches the configured limit torque, it will stop immediately until you apply a lower force than the established torque. When we select the ENEO mode, we can see that the reversal and work mode options are disabled. Unlike the operative mode, in ENEO mode, when we reach the torque limit, the micromotor starts to rotate in the opposite direction immediately, and will do so until we stop working with the pedal. When we actuate the pedal again, the micromotor turns again in the correct direction. Each work mode contains its own 10 configuration memories, so we can say that we have 20 customizable memories for each user profile. Thank you for joining us during this audiovisual tutorial. If you have any questions, Ancar's after-sales service department will be happy to help you. See you soon.